You know, this YouTube thing isn't as easy as it seems sometimes. It's really hard to come up with a video idea, particularly if it's a video that I really don't want to make. A lot of times I know I have to make stuff, and then I just feel like I don't want to do it today. I'm just not in the mood. I have to talk about what I'm actually interested in talking about. What am I interested in today? Well, today is a One Punch Man day. As you could probably tell from the title, I had just finished reading Volume 11, and I am pumped up, motherfucker! So, let's do this. I had this video waiting in the wings for a while now, pretty much right after I made the review for the last One Punch Man chapter. You could check that out right here. I was a little bit confused in that chapter. That was the chapter where Suryu fought against Chose in his monster form, right? And, little bit confused about threat levels and how, what the relevance is and where you would place Chose, and then you had Goketsu at that chapter, who was threat level dragon that was able just to pound Suryu right in the ground. So I was feeling a little bit disconcerted by that, so I thought I should make a video discussing the threat levels in the One Punch Man universe. Before we get into even the actual threat levels themselves, though, I should repeat something that I probably should have maybe clarified earlier. Threat levels in this series, don't think of them the same way as like a power level in Dragon Ball Z. I understand that, you know, there's a lot of references taken from Dragon Ball Z as well as a lot of other battle manga that's incorporated into One Punch Man, but it's not a way of just thinking like all class demon monsters are about the same strength or, you know, something like that. Threat levels are exactly that. They are basically a emergency procedure put in place by a governmental body, the Hero Association. With that being said, it's the general danger that that monster imposes, or group of monsters imposes on the general public. That's what a threat level is. It's not supposed to be like, alright, so we're gonna give this guy a demon level rank, and that means that his power is equal to every other demon level monster necessarily. Not really how it goes. So now we can get into the actual threat levels. However, there's one that's never included in the anime for whatever reasons. In the anime, there's only 4 that's ever explained. Tiger, Demon, Dragon, and God. In the manga, there's always been 5, so we're going to start off with that one. The lowest level is Wolf. Now, the Wolf level, perhaps one of the reasons they kept it from the anime is because Wolf is usually reserved for the really weak sauce monsters. The monsters that either had just appeared, we've seen before some humans can turn into monsters if they have certain like repressed emotions or desires or just like evil in their hearts, they can become monsters. That class of wolf is usually reserved for them. The characters or the monsters that are not necessarily a threat to humans yet, because they're so new, and they're very weak, but could potentially become a threat later on. An example of such a wolf-class creature would be the hot dog monster that Tatsumaki killed in one chapter, so this is the kind of shit we're dealing with right now. Along with that is also a Tongue Stretcher, that guy that ran into King that one time. Those are the level wolves we're talking about here. You know, level C heroes, even probably regular citizens could probably gang up on a wolf level monster and take care of it rather easily. But moving on beyond that, we then have the class of Tiger. Tiger is a threat level that's reserved for monsters that are posing a threat to a group of humans or a small group of humans. You're not really on the level of damaging infrastructure or, you know, causing havoc to an entire city, but it's like a strong creature that can deal a pretty good amount of damage, can kill a lot of humans with little effort, so you need to start worrying about that there. C and B rank heroes could probably deal with a level Tiger relatively easily. It's when we start getting up to Demon is when we have major problems. Demon is when you're starting to actually threaten an entire city of people, a large group of humanity, and that's when the problems arise, and there's a little bit of a gap there, as you can probably tell, from Tiger, where it's like, okay, Tiger's a threat to, you know, a few humans and stuff like that, to jumping to an entire city level. You can see how Demon can include a lot of different creatures and a lot of different monsters, one of which is the Deep Sea King, who is level Demon. I would say that he was probably one of the higher ranked Demon level creatures in the series, but it's kind of hard to measure that, because looking through the other demons that have existed in One Punch Man, you know, you had Mosquito Girl, you had the giant crow that Saitama killed, you had that fighting Jin guy with like the 4 hands that Bang killed. It's kind of hard to measure their relative power level in that respect when you have really strong characters like Saitama that kill them almost right away. The Deep Sea King was obviously a huge threat that many A-class heroes could not handle, and a lot of other creatures were dangerous as well. Like Mosquito Girl could have dealt out a lot of more damage than she did if it wasn't for Saitama. The same thing with that Jin guy that showed up. You know, he didn't seem like much. He only showed up in 1 chapter and then Bang blew his fucking head off with his fist. But if Bang wasn't there, who's already a really strong S-class hero, that creature could have damaged the city a lot, for all we know. It could have been even close to the level of the Deep Sea King. It's just that that's how it is in this series. It's all about the heroes they fight rather than the actual monsters themselves. If the monsters were given free reign, if they were all given equal opportunities, they would probably live up to that demon rank a lot more. So I think that's part of the reason why I was so confused, how it seemed like the Deep Sea King was like demon plus. Meanwhile, you had other demons that seemed like fodder. Not really so much fodder, it's just that the Deep Sea King fought a lot of weaker class heroes before Saitama eventually confronted him. Whereas other demon class heroes, demon class heroes, I'm getting fucking confused now. Other demon class monsters don't really get a chance because they get defeated by a really strong hero as soon as they appear. Does that make sense? I think that makes more sense. Although, I would like it for there to be a little bit more of a subcategory, you know, like demon minus and then regular demon, then demon plus, to maybe bridge the gap a little bit more. Because as I said, the gap between tiger and then demon and tiger, that's a big gap. It's not like gradual. It's just like, and then like here's level and then just another steep incline. But once again, it's not really the Hero Association is not really interested in ranking the monsters in the sense of like Deep Sea King, power level 9008, Mosquito Girl, power level 5004, you know, like they're not interested in doing that because their whole point is to make sure that the citizens of each city are safe. So it's like, hey, there's a demon level monster in the fucking city. Whether or not it's more stronger than the last demon level is irrelevant. It's fucking demon level. It could level the city if it's left unchecked. Please leave. You know, that's the reason it's there. And also kind of a crowd control mechanism, you know. Threat level demon, get the fuck out. Threat level dragon, get the fuck out. Threat level god, well, we hug your children, stick your head between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye. Basically, I don't know what else to tell you. That's how it goes. But moving on to Dragon, who we've been seeing a lot more dragons as of late here. Some of the, which even earlier on in the story, Carnage Kabuto from the House of Evolution, he was a dragon. Beefcake, the giant, no, I don't think he was a dragon. He was a giant, huge thing that was literally dwarfing cities, so he might be a dragon, but I believe he was classified as demon there. Goketsu's a dragon. Dragons are monsters that are given the threat level that they could level multiple cities in succession. The meteor that came down on episode 7 in the anime was also classified as a threat level dragon, so it's not just monsters, as I said. Meteor was going to come down on Z City, wipe out the Z City, but also the shockwave and the impact of that thing would have wiped out multiple cities around it as well. That's a better way of looking at it there. Then we get to our good friend, our alien friend, Boros. Oh my god, fucking Boros. This guy, where does he rank? Okay, you know what? There's many different camps here. All that we got from this is that he's above Dragon. That's all he said. Whether or not that means he's in that lull between, because as I said, there's big gaps between levels, you know, between Tiger and Demon and Dragon. So, for all we know, Boros could just be in that lull, that gradual incline between a Dragon level threat and a God level threat. A God level threat, though, is something that actually has the potential to end all of humanity, or actually have the destruction destruction of the Earth included in there. Pretty much anything apocalypse level, okay? And I'm gonna have to put myself in the camp that Boros is a fucking god-level threat, purely because he had a technique which, by his own admittance, would have wiped out humanity if it would have actually hit the planet. His collapsing star-roaring cannon! Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna combine all my power together, and we've seen how much power he had when he was fighting Saitama. His whole thing with his species is that he amasses a great amount of energy. His whole body is like a fucking generator, and it just gets fucking amped up more and more and more. And yeah, he fought Saitama, which basically means that no matter what he did, he was gonna look rather weak. But that's not a good benchmark, like I said. It doesn't matter who Saitama fights, it's going to look weak in comparison because Saitama is fucking Saitama. You can't use that as a good power scale. Saitama breaks power scales. The best that you could say is that, like, well, Saitama took more effort in taking on Boros than, let's say, Mosquito Girl. You can't even use that as a measure. It's completely dependent on Saitama's personality, his mood, what side of the bed he woke up on that day. Let me ask you a serious fucking question, okay? If Saitama wanted to kill Boros in one hit, could he have done so? Yes, the answer is of course yes, but Saitama at that moment just didn't want to do that. He could have walked in, serious moves, killer moves, serious series, Majin Nagari, bam, done. Alright, let's all go and get some freaking udon noodles. But he didn't want to do that, because it's like, holy shit, there's aliens, there's so many, they've wiped out the whole city. Clearly the boss of these guys has to be strong, right? I feel like Saitama went into that fight maybe restraining himself a bit. Maybe like, this could be the biggest threat I've had to fight. This could be it. This could be the big one. And so when he started fighting Boros, it was probably obvious to him, at least on a subconscious level, I could take this guy out, no problem. It's not, it's just back to the drawing board, but he just wanted to maybe play it out as long as possible. That's just how it is. So you can't use Saitama as a measure. I'm gonna say that, yeah, if Boros at full power would have launched that fucking laser beam of death, the fuck you beam, and it would have hit Earth, maybe not would have actually destroyed the Earth. I don't think he actually said it would have destroyed the Earth. I think it just said it would have wiped out humanity. It would have been enough force to actually destroy or eradicate humanity. Although, it could have potentially wiped out the planet as well, because as Neil deGrasse Tyson has actually taught us, he actually explained once in an interview, in like a podcast he did, how to actually blow up a planet. Do you want to hear how? You want to hear how to just Death Star the fuck out of a planet? It's not really hard. All planets and all celestial bodies have a certain amount of energy that keep them together, right? So, let's just say, I mean, this is just a random number I'm pulling out of my ass, but let's just say the magic number that is contained in the planet Earth is 52. Okay, so what you gotta do to make the Earth explode is just pump more than 52 into the Earth. You hit 53 and the Earth will fracture and explode. And that, like, collapsing star roaring cannon that Boros launched seemed like just like a focused energy blast. Saitama deflected it, or he blasted it back, you know, there's some blowback or something with his punch. But if it would have actually hit the Earth, penetrated the Earth, gone down into the actual crust and the mantle, into the core, and would have been a sufficient energy, the Earth would have just fractured apart. So, it doesn't matter if it was either that, or just the destruction of humanity itself, and the Earth would have still been there. I would still say that's a fucking god-level threat, would you not? So, there you go. Perhaps one did not say it was a god-level threat because perhaps he wanted to place it more in the idea of like, I'm gonna save God for later, or some such like that. Maybe he just didn't want to spoil it right now, because God is like the last card you're gonna play, you know, because if you know, Saitama, like, that's the only thing that could possibly, perhaps even maybe vaguely approach something similar to Saitama's level, is if you had a god-level threat. And by the way, if we ever do see a god-level threat, if we ever did find a match for Saitama, that character would be as every bit ridiculous, broken, and satirical as Saitama would be. I don't think that's going to happen, because that's the whole point of the story, is that, you know, Saitama is this broken character that's relying purely on satire and parody and can defeat every single enemy because that's what the author says. That's kind of the charm of the story that I like. But, you know, you probably don't want to play your God card earlier than you actually have to, you know, so maybe one is aware, like, yeah, Boros was a God level threat, but I don't want to tell you he was a God level threat, because then that's going to be like, well, Saitama already killed him, there was no fight. So maybe he wants to hold that back. Garo, I mean, we're going a little bit into spoilers here, but Garo, in the webcomic, when he achieves his monster form, like the 4th fucking version of that shit, it was clearly God level. I mean, it was that, yeah, it was. And then Saitama, we all know what happened there, okay? In fact, I want to say, this is, once again, even just more resembling Saitama's own personality and mood. That fight with Garo, I would say Garo would have been on a similar level with Boros, if not higher, in that fight. And Saitama beat Garo way easier than he did Boros. When he fought Boros, there was a moment where Saitama was just like, you know, he was serious. He was really serious, you know, in defeating him. And with Garo, he was just kind of playing around, and he still won. It seemed like he was just his normal Saitama self when fighting Garo, which is like, whatever, you're gonna punch me, I don't care, dude, and just, you know, just punch it. That's how he beat Garo. And he didn't actually kill Garo. Garo just regressed back into his normal form. But it was very clear that, you know, Saitama was just, you know, you know, way less serious than he fought Boros. Way less serious, and he still won. So, yeah. Mostly, I wanted to discuss Boros, because there was a little bit of an argument, I think, that I started with the last video, and I really want to discuss him. But, yeah. That's essentially everything I wanted to talk about with the threat levels. Don't view them as power levels, for one. You know, you gotta be, I mean, you could do power scaling when compared to other characters, but that's just really hard given the series. You know, it depends on who fights them. It depends, if it's a high tier character, or if it's Saitama. Saitama's kind of in a class of his own, let's be honest, here he is. So it really depends on those kind of factors, you know, but I don't think it really matters. I don't think you really have to break down the monsters, you know, this guy is stronger than this guy or whatever, at the end of the day, because it's more about, I think that's not the focus of the manga. I think the more focus of the manga is just, here are some badass monsters that are wicked strong, and a hero shows up, and it's that kind of guessing game that one does a little bit, where it's like, okay, you have a giant fucking centipede that's the size of a skyscraper that can entangle an entire city, right? Yeah, that's pretty strong. That's a threat level dragon you have right there. Oh, yeah, it is. And then you have this guy who's just a fucking, I don't know, 20-something-year-old delinquent with a fucking bats. There's no way that this guy could beat that thing, right? Or could he? I kind of want to see this. That's I think, the entertainment value. It's like, one look at it and it's like, there's no fucking way Metalback could kill that thing. But then he fights it. And he fucking, that scene where he gets on top of the fucking thing and, like, dragon thrashing, I mean, like, it makes you wonder. It makes you get pumped up, like, man, this could go either way. I really don't know where this is gonna go. Yeah, so that's more of the fun with it, I think. But what do you think about the threat levels? More importantly, I guess, the main focus of what this video ended up being is, what do you think about Boros' power level? Threat level, I guess I should say. Do you think it is ranked somewhere around Dragon, in between Dragon and God, or just straight up God? I'm sorry, I gotta go to the camp that Boros was straight up God, just for the sake of him potentially wiping out the entire human race. I'm gonna, even if I wasn't in that camp before, I'm in it now. Hello, welcome other people that think Boros was God level, and I welcome the shuns of everyone. Like, oh my god, Tekking, you just don't fucking know. Boros was not fucking God level. Shut the fuck up. He couldn't have destroyed the earth. He was just fucking blabbing. He couldn't have wiped out humanity. It never would have happened. If you look at the trajectory of that beam, there's no way. It's just how it goes. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. Before we get going, I think we should just take a moment to appreciate Fubuki. She played no part in this video at all, but she's fucking hot and she's got nice tits. So let's just take a second there to look at her. And, good. Okay. Thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking101 signing out. Fairy tale videos in the works. Yeah, I'm actually working on that right now. I have little things I'm going to be using for that. So keep on the eye out for that. Keep on the eye out for the Usopp discussion video for One Piece coming up this week, as well as some other stuff. So yeah, and the conclusion of my Pokemon Ruby LP if you're into that. Probably most of you aren't. Later, guys.